This is not a new format. Stop making me do these videos, Overkill. So, 6 months ago now, I made a video on Overkill's, let's charitably call it, a strange design choice to deactivate, in massive quotes there, cross-saving between Windows and Linux ports of Payday 2, in that they decided to make Linux use a separate save slot and basically lied about cross-saving being disabled, and I was hoping that that would be the last time I would make a video on the company making slights towards an otherwise good port of a game, but I was wrong. So here I am. But for those expecting me to be as angry as I was last time, you may want to hold off on grabbing the pitchforks, at least for right now. Update 235 gave us the Crude Awakening bundle. I just got that. That's kind of appropriate given what we're about to talk about. And some very nice Western oil baron clothing choices. It also came with an announcement that made my heart sink a little bit. The Crude Awakening bundle, specifically the Heist, will not be sold on Linux. This is due to technical issues born from the fact that Linux and VR versions of Payday are on a separate and older branch of Payday 2. End quote. Now, had they stopped there, I would probably be the angry British YouTuber that people want me to be. However, the thing that calmed my nerves was, well, Overkill actually talking, not trying to cover things up and giving decent reasoning. To continue, until we've had the chance to investigate the issues we're facing around the older branches, we've set the Crude Awakening bundle as unavailable for Linux, and we're setting the Heist as not compatible with VR. As a consequence of the separate branches, there is a risk going forward that Linux and VR players will be unable to matchmake with Windows players until we've found a solution. We'll update as we get more information on how we'll proceed. Note their wording there. They made a commitment to fixing the issue. That's genuinely not something I expected. They're being open, they communicated the problem, they didn't come up with excuses that I can debunk really quickly, and for once it doesn't feel like a PR manager trying to pull a fast one over me. It just feels like the truth. What do you want me to say here? I can't pick up a pitchfork and be angry and annoyed at Overkill for being responsible. This is the right and, to reiterate, responsible action for the developers to do. You let your audience know, regardless of their size, of issues and openly commit to try to fix the issue, instead of trying to sweep the problems under the rug. I haven't got a reason to be angry in this regard, or any incentive to go on a tirade about Linux support or LLVM issues or broken vertex colouring. I just have no desire to do so. Of course, I feel a little annoyed at the announcement in of itself. The ambiguity of Linux support is not something companies have had a great track record of when it comes to Linux gaming. Overkill, for all their other faults, have been one of the few companies to stand by their Linux support of their port, even if they are suspiciously quiet about dealing with issues most of the time on their forum. This situation is not the Gearbox Borderlands 2 HD texture pack situation, where the porting house refuses to update the game on Linux, forcing people to use Proton. Speaking of which, I know people are shouting the obvious solution here. Just use Proton, it's better, it'll fix all the problems. But in my opinion, that's the easy way out. For a port that runs as well as it does, I just don't see the need to do that. Proton has its place, don't get me wrong, but with Payday 2 basically having what is likely the last content drop ever, I have a lot of motivation to see the Linux version have heist parity with Windows. I want the ports to be compatible without issues for the future, as it has done for most of its life. Now, I do have contingencies for this eventuality. Actually, I've had contingencies for this since 2018, but again, mods should not be treated as a permanent solution when the company is capable of making a solution itself, and they seem to be willing to do that. As a bit of a side note, VR is also affected by this branches issue too, something which I kinda glossed over because I just haven't experienced it. But I do find it encouraging that, via this proxy, the VR port being in trouble has made people aware of the Linux port being in trouble too. That's kinda nice to see some form of screwed over by Overkill camaraderie there. Oh, and before I go, I did ask Mr. Payday Twitter man about the whole cross-saving thing I mentioned at the start of the video, and they actually responded with an admittedly vague "we'll look into it" tweet. But still, they seem interested in getting things fixed, and they wouldn't have replied if they weren't interested. Hopefully the next time I do one of these videos, it'll be under better circumstances. And with that, I'll talk to you all later. See ya!